All right, we're going to go ahead and go over how to solve basic linear equations. So first thing you want to do is go ahead and get all the variables on one side. So in the variable is the letter, the term with a letter on it. So in this case, that's the 5x. Well, there's only the 5x. The right side over here does not have any variables, so we're good there. And then the next thing I like to do is go ahead and move any of the constants. So a constant is something that does not have a variable, and we're going to move that to the other side. So that's the -7 right here. In order to move it from the left side to the right side, you've got to do the opposite operation on it. So in this case, we're subtracting 7, so instead I'm going to go ahead and add 7. And then we'll go ahead and bring that 5x down. The reason we do the opposite sign is because by doing that we get the additive identity. So -7 plus 7 is 0. Anytime you add 0 to anything, it's itself. So like 2 plus 0 is just 2, right? So we don't have to write it. We're just going to go ahead, and that's why we call it canceling out. 23 plus 7 is 30. At this point, what we're going to do, so we have 5x equals 30. To get this 5 and this x are multiplied together. The opposite operation of multiplication is division, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And that way, 5 divided by 5 is 1. 1 times anything, so 1 times x is just x. Same thing if I do 2 times 1, it's just 2, right? So that's why we just cancel that out and just say x equals, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. And then you're done. If you wanted to check your answer, what you do is you replace the x. So we do 5 times, and instead of putting an x, you'd put a 6, because that's what x equals, -7, and then you'll check to see, does it actually equal 23? And if you do 5 times 6, you get 30. 30 minus 7 is 23. So they do actually equal each other. So that's how you could check your answer. Let's do another one. We're just going to do a few on this first video. I'm going to skip around. Okay, same thing with number 4. I want to get the variable by itself, and guess what? It's already by itself. There's no other term with an x on it. So this time we have a plus 30. So to move that plus 32. To move the 32 over to the other side, we're going to subtract, because that's the opposite operation. And we're moving it to the other side because we're trying to get it away from the x. And that's going to give us the -16x. Those two will cancel because 32 minus 32 is 0. And then -144 minus 32 is -176. And then we're going to go ahead and, like we did before, because this is multiplication right here, -16 times x, we're going to divide by -16, on both sides, because what you do to one side you have to do to the other, and you end up with x, 1x, or just x, equals +11, because when you divide two negatives you get a positive. Once again, you can check your answer by replacing the x up here, so -16 times 11, replace it with the 11 in this case, and double check. And -16 times 11 is 176, -176. Remember, we're trying to see, does this actually work? And -176 plus 32 is -144. And hooray, we got it to work. Let's do one more in this video. So I'm going to skip over to number 5. This one's written a little different. It looks different, but the same principle applies. So I am going to move everything away from the term that has the x. So that's this term, and that term includes this little negative in front. So we need to move the 8. The 8 is in front of the 8 is a +8, so we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. So that gives us, that cancels. We are left with -x over let me write that so it looks exactly like the other one. So we have x over 19 with a little negative in front. 10 minus 8 is a positive 2. Now, this one is a little tough because of that negative. Here's the cool thing about fractions. If you have a negative in front of a fraction, so like negative 1 over 2 like that, you can write that as a negative 1 over 2 or a 1 over negative 2. The point is you can put this negative right here to either the top or the bottom. You choose. So I'm actually going to rewrite this as x over negative 19 equals 2, just to make it a little easier on myself. Okay, at this point, the x has this negative 19 and we're dividing. To get rid of division, you multiply. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 19. And just so that doesn't look like subtraction, I'm going to put it in parentheses. Okay, that gets rid of division, and you're left with x equals, and then you just multiply negative 19 times 2, and that gives you negative 38. Now let's just practice our checking. So if we're checking our answer, you'd go back to the original problem, so that's this right here, and you do 8 minus negative 38 over 19. I'm going to put that in parentheses, equals 10. And that's negative 38 divided by 19 is a negative 2. That's why I like to put it in parentheses, because you'll notice we have these two negatives. We'll see what to do with that. So when you're subtracting a negative, remember that becomes a positive. So you have 8 plus 2 equals 10. We're double checking to see if this is true. And it is. 10 is equal to 10.